Welcome into another video. Z1620 here, and I'm super excited to be able to bring you guys a guide on how to get those levels inside of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies for either your gun or for your rank. So in order to do that, the video today is going to go through the contracts that are going to produce the best way to level up, the most efficient way to level up. There is a couple different ways to go ahead and obtain levels within Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. There is a couple methods with contracts, and there is a method that doesn't involve using contracts. All of these methods can be done inside of the tier 1, so you don't have to worry about looting and getting geared up to head off into tier 3 or tier 2 or the dark Aether to do any of this. It can all be done inside of your game, inside of tier 1. So with that being said, there is a double XP weekend coming up, and so this video is designed to have you guys ready to take advantage of that double XP and get as much XP and weapon levels as you possibly can. Now, before we get into the video, I do want to say a big thank you to each and every one of you guys that have tuned in. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to tap that subscribe button and turn on the bell notifications so you do not miss any future uploads from myself on Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. Also, we need to mention down below in the description, you will find the link to the kick streams where we stream all of the Modern Warfare 3 Zombies content and have a ton of fun. Hope to see you guys in streams and the next video. Thanks for tuning in. Let's roll the intro and get to the guide for level grinding. Alright, so the number one contract right now to go ahead and get your Camel Grind done is going to be the Spore Control contract. The reason for this is it drops 6 spores that you need to put your device onto in order to be able to destroy them. Now, when you put your device on one of the spores, you're going to activate a whole bunch of zombie spawns that are going to spawn endlessly until that spore is destroyed. So the trick with the Spore Control contract for Camel Grind is when you come over here to grab all of your devices, you want to take all of them. You're going to need 6 to activate all of them. So you want to grab all of them. There is 8 in there, and I'll explain the reason why you're grabbing 8 here in a minute. So in order to get the most effective Camel Grind, the most effective number of zombies in, you're going to see me run around with the devices, and I'm going to activate all 6 spores. Now what this is going to do is it's going to activate the highest number of zombie spawns for the Spore Contract Control. So by activating all 6 spores in the Spore Contract Control, you are effectively bringing in the maximum number of zombie spawns for the Spore Control contract. Now, these zombie spawns are obviously meant to be for just the length of the Spore Control contract, as you're supposed to place your devices down and then destroy the spores. Now, I have placed all 6, so we have all of the zombie spawn locations for these 6 spores active at the moment. Now, what's going to happen is as you stand around killing zombies and not shooting the spores, at some point your device that activates the spores and enables you to be able to shoot them will just no longer be effective. It's going to run out and it's not going to be used. So you've now going to have 6 of the devices that are no longer available to use. Because the spores are just going to sit there and wait. You don't want to shoot them, you just want to leave them active. It doesn't matter if they go to the point where you can no longer shoot them. That is fine. The zombie spawns that you activated by turning on the spores will remain active. So why we grabbed 8 is because we're going to use 6 of those devices to turn on the spores. We don't care if they time out and we can't see them anymore. When we decide to finish the contract, we will have 2 devices in our inventory left to run around and activate the spores and shoot them. So that's why we're grabbing 8 and using 6 to activate all of the spawns for the zombies for the Spore Control. So this is definitely the most effective way to do the Camel Grind. You can get it done in tier 1. You don't even need to be pack-a-punched. You don't need any loot. You can kill all the zombies here with just a gray weapon, rarity, and unpacked. So it makes it nice and simple for getting the Camel Grind. So definitely the number one method, as you can see here on screen, for getting Camel Grind done inside of MW3 Zombies is, of course, going to be a Spore Control contract. Now, a lot of people know about the Spore Control contract and how useful it is for the Camel Grind, so those can be a little bit tricky sometimes to find on the map. You might have to go for a bit of a trek in order to be able to track down a Spore Control contract. However, another tip I have for you is you do not necessarily need to complete the Spore Control contract. You are simply using the Spore Control contract to bring in the spawn locations that are active when you turn on the spores. That's the only reason we're using the Spore Control contract. Also, because of their recent update, the Outlast control, you used to be able to run outside the building and the spawns would be the same. They've nerfed that a bit, so it's not the most viable method anymore. Spore Control contract does not end until you shoot all 6 spores. So you can run this one indefinitely. I've done this multiple times where I've had a Spore Control contract spawn in at the beginning of my match, and I have run the 1 Spore Control contract for the entirety of my match, completed it at the end, and then left for an Xville. So that is definitely something that you guys can do. Alright, so don't forget, first method is going to be grab a Spore Control contract, activate all 6 of the spores, don't destroy them, and farm all the zombies that spawn in from the spawn locations. Alright, with that being said, let's move on to method number 2. Alright, so the second best method with the latest update is actually Xvilles. They nerfed them down to almost unusable for camel grinding, and then they have rebuffed them back up now. So the wait before you can call it another Xville has been reduced from 2 minutes down to 1 minute, so that's definitely not so bad to wait. Also, they increased the amount of zombies that spawn when you're doing an Xville. As you can see, you also get elites now at the Xville helicopters. So this is definitely a viable method. It's probably my second best method I would recommend for farming camos and stuff like that, especially if your camel grind is looking for dogs, elites, any of those other type of zombie types. The Xville Chopper is definitely going to be the second best method I would recommend doing, as there's just increased the spawn now, so it's just a lot more zombies there, a lot of different types. Like I said, you can see an elite, there's manglers here I'm shooting, there's dogs, so it's definitely a viable method to go ahead and use an Xville Chopper as a camel grind method now that they have changed the way they work. Because again, we all remember when the game first launched, the Xville Choppers were absolutely amazing. Just an insane horde of zombies. When you Xville, it was great for camel grinding. That led to people glitching out sentries and bugging out the servers, so they decreased the Xville amount to basically it being the easiest, most boring event ever. And then in Season 1, they brought us a new update to Xvilles, and they have increased the zombie spawns at the Xvilles, added elites, and reduced the cooldown timer to 1 minute. So my second best method, recommending for level grinding for rank, level grinding for camos, for weapon levels, would be take an Xville Chopper and just continue to spam the Xville Chopper and shoot the zombies that are there. That would definitely be my second method for weapon camo grinding. So head to those Xville Choppers, call them, and go shoot those zombies. Let's get to the last one. Alright, so the last method is one that is well known. It is the Outlast Contract. Now, this used to be the #1 method for doing camos because you can simply activate the contract, you could get the percent complete on that Outlast Contract to about 50 to 80%, somewhere in there, and then you could run outside and it would infinitely spawn zombies with that, and you can drop back in, raise it back up to 50, 55, 80%, and just rinse and repeat that. Now, it is no longer, in my opinion, the most viable method for camos inside of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. The spawn rate when doing the Outlast is not that bad, as you can see, but when I went outside, it was nowhere near what it used to be. There's definitely, you can see that the spawns are still happening outside when you do the Outlast Contract, but they don't, they're not as heavy as they used to be for sure. So like, I feel like this is, it is viable, but it's not nearly as effective or as quick as the Outlast Contract used to be. As you can see, I'm outside here, it contracts over 50%, and the spawn rate is really poor. So it is not the best method for sure. It is one that you can do. You can go back inside and, continue to push the progress bar, run back outside and get the limited zombie spawns that happen. So this is one I wanted to show you guys that is possible to do still, the Outlast Contract. It is not the best in my opinion, but if you do need dogs for your camel grind, Outlast Contract is still a great method to get dogs in for your camel grind if you need it. If you need elites or manglers in your camel grind, I would recommend you go ahead and do an escort inside of Tier 1. That'll bring you a lot of elites, a lot of manglers, and possibly some mimics if it pulls by an infested stronghold. The Aether contract, the Spore contract, will pull out the mimics and stuff from the infested stronghold to attack you. So those are the ways that I would do. You know, number 1 for me is Spore contract, and number 2 for me would be the Xvilles, and number 3 would be the Outlast contract. And then depending on what I needed, if it was dogs, I would probably hit up an Outlast contract because it spawns in dogs the most. And then if I needed elites, I would do an escort contract to knock out those camels. Now again, this guide is aimed at making the camel grind as easy as possible. So we're not going into tier 2. Don't necessarily even need to be pack-a-punched. You don't necessarily need to have any weapon rarity. You can just spawn in with your weapon to tier 1, go grab these contracts I mentioned, or use the Xville and grind your camos and get your levels that way. The goal of my guides is to make it easy and very simple so that any player, any skill level can go ahead and complete this. So hope you guys found this guide useful and helpful. If so, please leave a comment down below in the comment section, and we look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Have an awesome day, everybody.